Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks for joining me this morning. Building a high-performing team starts with leadership. Joining us today is best-selling author, executive coach, and business strategist Peter Srodoski. His new book, which is Build Kick-Ass Teams, Lead Boldly, Hire Intentionally, Forge a Team That Actually Gives a Damn, has quickly become a must-read in the business community. So, Pete, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Sure. So, obviously a book much needed. There's not a company out there that doesn't feel as though they could probably do a little bit better in their leadership skills. But what inspired you to write the book?
Well, as an executive coach for the last few years, I've just noticed there's an opportunity within the world of leadership of both being honest and transparent and leading courageously. You know, a lot of times that leaders feel like they don't have to say what's on their mind, or they're scared to say what's on their mind or to challenge their employees. But I feel that the ethos of the book is all about leading authentically and being honest. And you have an obligation as a leader to make sure that you communicate what's inside of your head and communicate that to your team. Without doing so, I feel like what ends up happening is your team is ambiguous and doesn't understand where your head's at, and you're constantly frustrated and trying to fill those gaps.
Right. You say building great teams doesn't start with HR. It starts with the leader, him or herself, right? What does that look like in practice?
Well, it's all about vision. It's all about crafting great core values and understanding what it is that you want in your business. And a lot of times, what we do is we focus on hiring for a resume, and we focus on hiring for a dollar amount, and we don't bring on the people that fit our core values and our culture. And the exercise of being an executive coach and working with CEOs all around the world right now is that it's very clear to me the differentiators. The CEOs that are doing incredibly well are ones that emit a culture, and they hire for core values, and they are authentic, and they are purpose driven. And those cultures and those communities and those businesses are thriving. Whereas the other industries, the other CEOs that are struggling, they're hiring based on a resume. They're hiring based on dollar amounts. They're hiring based on, this is how I have to get this person to make more money. And it just doesn't work as well.
Right. What, Pete, are some of the common leadership pitfalls that you see?
Yeah, I think one of the things is talking courageously to your team members, and that what ends up happening is for folks that don't do that, those CEOs struggle with carrying all of the frustrations that they have for their team on their own back. It's like putting a rock in a book bag and continuously putting those rocks, and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. I think cadence is also a very big pitfall. Leaders that don't have a rhythm or a cadence in communication with their team members, they go months before they have honest conversations with those team members. That really plays into long-term troubles. Is my team doesn't know where I stand. We're dissatisfied with some of their outcomes, and we're not having those conversations. So there is a direct correlation to frequent communication, honest communication, transparent communication. I think also setting expectations or a lack thereof is frequently, leaders assume that their team members know exactly what they want of them. And the challenge there is they don't. We hire people and then we just assume they know what good looks like. And that's just not the case. We have to constantly let people know what good looks like. And that may even be team members that have been with us for a long period of time. We have to constantly reiterate, what does good look like? What does good look like? What does good look like? And that gives them an opportunity to understand the guardrails of their role, understand what good looks like and where to go.
Yeah, for sure. Culture is one of those words that leaders love to use, but few know how to really shape it. How can a leader design a culture that actually works for them and their company?
Yeah, I think that the key here is really ask the team right? It's something that's so fundamentally wrong is we always tell the team what things are going to look like, and then we ask their permission to accept it. What ends up happening though is it's best to find out and to develop that culture collaboratively. Work with your leadership team, the folks that are going to be running the business, and ask your team beforehand, hey, this is what I'd like to do. Help me get you there. And then work together to develop that program and that plan, that strategic vision for your business.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting until you want to roll it out and then telling them, hey, you've got to agree with this.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this as a leader of a company and a number of companies, and that is the risk that you run as the leader is that when you put it out for discussion and they all go in a different way as to how to make the soup, so to speak, and some think we should do it this way and others think we should do it that way. It seems as though when you finally say, okay, here's what we're doing, you've gotten a few of the team members, if not all of them, upset with you because you didn't take their way or their advice on the execution of the plan. Do you know what I'm talking about?
100%. The best way to combat that, and I see this all the time as an executive coach, the best way to combat that is solicit their feedback ahead of time. And if you solicit their feedback, people just want to be heard.
Right.
They want to be considered. And most people are comfortable if you don't select their decision as long as they were considered.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is once you roll out a program or initiative, and this happens a lot within change management, is you roll out this program or initiative and the team is not excited about it and they feel like their voice wasn't heard. Well, they were never asked. They were never solicited for that feedback originally.
Sure.
And as a result, they get frustrated and they want to have a say, and now they don't have a say and they give up hope. And, that's culture breaking.
Yeah.
What we talk about. That's a cultural cancer within your business.
Yes, because all of a sudden the water cooler talk becomes that of, well, he asked our advice. He didn't take any of it. I don't know what he's going to do or she's going to do. And now we've got to execute on their plan. I don't even know why they had the meeting to begin with to ask our advice. I mean, this is real life stuff that I've personally experienced where, all of a sudden you see certain segments shutting down and you're like, what's the problem? Well, we told you that we wanted to do it in this manner, X, Y, Z, or in this time frame or what have you. And then you realize, I didn't communicate what you had just said was to say, I want to hear your advice or I want to solicit your feedback here. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do it. And I think that that's one of those things that's got to be communicated because they tell it to you, they think you're going to use it and take it, right?
Well, and that goes back to my first book that I wrote, which was Lead with Empathy. And one of the main tenets of that book is don't ask something of your team unless you're actually going to consider it.
Yeah.
So one of the major flaws is a lot of CEOs try to check a box with their team and say, we're going to, we'll make sure we ask everybody, but we've already got a plan. We've already got the initiative. We already know exactly what we're going to do. And so that lack of consideration is almost more dangerous, to your point, than it is of just actually not asking them at all.
Right.
So if you're going to ask your team and solicit their feedback, legitimately sit down at a table and consider it. I tell frequently the CEOs that I work with that the most success I can see in a leadership team meeting is where the CEO sits down at the table, has an opinion of where something is going to go, and their opinion is altered based on one of their leadership team members' comments.
Yeah.
And that is true success, is we're considering, we're thinking about it. And a lot of CEOs feel like they know better than anybody else.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely true success.
That's right. I fall into that category. At least I'm smart enough to know that, that I can admit that. But so what do you want the reader of this book to really leave with? What's the point that you really want them to that you really want to drive home with them?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and I talk about this frequently, is that if it's in your head and it's not in theirs, it's your fault. Okay. You have an obligation as a leader to take what's inside of your head and communicate that authentically, confidently, compassionately to the person that's on your team. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want a leader to do, a CEO to do, or a business leader to do is to have that feeling or that thought and stifle their employee's career because they're not willing to have the courage to say something to their team members. And I think that that's what builds great teams.
Yeah, I would agree. Peter Srodoski, executive coach, business strategist, and best-selling author. His newest book, Build Kick-Ass Teams, Lead Boldly, Hire Intentionally, Forge a Team That Actually Gives a Damn. I'm telling you, this is a must-read for everyone out there, especially if you're a leader of a team. But Peter, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Very much appreciate it. Love to have you back because there's so many different areas of this book that we would like to delve into with you. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks for watching another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.